Hello, my very dear Libra. This is your reading for the week of March 4th, or when you hear it and it resonates, and it will not be for every Libra. As I was working earlier today, getting ready, and I was asking for what we were going to be doing today with Libra, I got this downloaded image of you on a railroad track counting the ties. Now, I'm sure many of you will remember that train tracks have two rails of metal, and then in between the rails there are these wooden perpendicular pieces called ties. And you're counting the ties. And if you want to count the ties between this town and the next town, well, that's a lot of work. You're going to be down there, and it's like you're down there and you're looking at the ties and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if you really want to know how many ties there are between this town and the next, you can say, when in 100 meters, there are this many ties, and the next town is how many meters away. And you can now this is basically you learning to take a different response. You've decided you're going to look at this train track in a different way. You're not just going to be looking at the individual pieces here, but now you're allowing yourself to look at the big picture, look at the horizon, look at the mileage and the distance, and you're able to respond differently with a mathematical equation. You're able to overcome all of this work, this heavy duty slogging along the track. Now, what does this give you? Math. It's irrelevant that it is math. What's relevant, they're saying, is that it is you being able to decide that you are not going to stick to the old way of doing things, where understanding and taking care of business meant this incredibly heavy responsibility. Because Libra, because you have a tendency to want to make sure that every detail is perfect for the people around you in order to fulfill the role that you feel your character really expresses well, sometimes you get over focused on detail in such a way so that it really becomes a burden. Now, what you're doing is you're understanding that you have the ability to respond differently, that there are different ways of achieving what you might want. And in the process of doing that, the difference would be you being able to stand back and look at the train tracks and see where it's going and get a feel for where it's going. And oh, that's interesting too, because what you also get to see is that's a straight line, but there's also a rail change here where I can be diverted onto another track. Do I want to do that? So what you're getting here, you're getting responsibility, the ability to respond. If you redefine it, as they do in A Course in Miracles, and you turn responsibility into the ability to respond, now what you're getting is you have a choice, which is true. We always have choices, and choice is where our power lies. You're being told within the process of this, one of the reasons you're able to do this is because you're able to look with new eyes. And you're able to look with new eyes at your life and your behaviors because you are starting to understand a deeper place in yourself. You're now starting to look at what you do based on how it causes you to feel, rather than doing what you've always done because it was expected and because it was something that your character felt very comfortable doing. Now, what you're being shown here, or what I'm being shown here, is that many of you have at least begun to understand there can be the ease of being in your life and on your path. You don't have to be so focused on every single next detail. You can stand back and you can allow something more than your logical brain, which wants to count and do that. You can lean back and you can develop something else in yourself, or are developing something else in yourself, which is the ability to feel where you're going. And the feeling of where you're going, yes, it can be one step at a time, but it will be done more with a feeling sense of what the next step is, because it has a big picture reference point. It's no longer just this and then this and then this. It's this and then this. And where is it taking me? Oh yeah, does that feel good? Oh, maybe there's a track change there. So this is you being shown here that grace really is with you and it is on your side. And you're being encouraged to do this because, Libra, you're an air sign, my dears. You know that. And because you have the ability to become over-focused on detail sometimes, what it can do is it can create a sense of fear. And that fear can create contraction. And thus, this, as opposed to this. What Spirit is saying is, as you're learning to understand that there is way more than you on the track, that there is, now how do they want me to put this? That grace is leading you, and that as you open into allowing yourself to consider the possibility that there is a different way of doing things, that's when you let grace in. When you start allowing yourself to see yourself as different and welcome in that benevolent divine grace that is a birthright to every one of us. And we just accept that we don't, for the first time, we don't have to do anything, Libra. We don't have to earn the grace. The grace is yours. The grace is yours. It's yours. So lean into that. And what is grace? It's a smooth, easy, peaceful, and supportive quality. It flows naturally into us and through us. It's an experience of letting the benevolent universe take us through our movements and guide us with a loving hand. Notice the feeling quality of this description and return to it today. Every time you're about to do or think about anything, or at any point in the day when you find yourself being stressed and thinking too much, allow yourself to consider new visions. Allow yourself to say, what if I were going to do things differently, and allow myself to think of me differently? How would that be? How would I be responding to myself differently if I was this or if I was that? This is not just you getting to look at where your life is going. This is you being able to look at who you really are and who you wish to be in the process of where your life is going. And you're being told you have divine, benevolent grace helping you with this. So can you allow that to be the support for this track that's going along, and the wisdom? I know it sounds silly to say a wise train, but when I look at this train track and I look at going over the land, it is a beautiful land. It's not just the train track, it's the scenery around it, which is so magnificent. And that's what you're going to get to see. That's what you're starting to get to see. You are starting to be able to see the big picture, not just because, or not just to be able to feel safe in letting go of the process, but the idea of really being able to embrace and understand what the essential beauty of nature is around you, and the world and manifestation and all of that beautiful mystical metaphysical stuff. This is a journey that now becomes magical for you because it's transformational, and it's because you're allowing yourself to transform. I'm going to let that be enough for now. This feels absolutely spectacular, Libra, as I say this to you. So I know many of you are already doing this. And many of you are in the process of really working with this. And understand, again, like all of these things that are changes for us, we may toggle back and forth between the old and the new. You're being asked, remember the new, okay? Take care, Libra. Much love.